In Lab 4, we're going to write programs to solve problems. And basically, most of these solutions will fall into breaking our main line into 4 basic sections. First section will be explain to the user what is expected of the user, take inputs from the user, do calculations based on the input, and format the answer in a meaningful way. In Visual Studio, we'll write our normal programmer's block, and our first program is to find and sum the average of 3 values. Now the first thing we're going to do is explain to user, and when we do that, the simplest way to do that is to create a function to do that. And what we're going to need for that is to have a function prototype. And our function prototype is going to be void explain void. And function prototypes end in a semicolon. So the comment here is going to be explain to user what is expected. Now for the function prototype, that's fine, but we also have to develop a function definition. So we're going to highlight everything except the semicolon. We're going to Control C, copy that, and what we're going to do is we're going to paste it below our program here. And what we're going to do for function definition is instead of a semicolon at the end, we're going to put in brackets, because this is where the actual code is going to be. Function definition. Let's take a look at Lab 4. And if we take a look here, it says write a program that will give the following instructions to the user. So the first thing is sum and average program. So we're just going to grab that. We're going to right mouse click, and we're going to say copy. Inside our void explain void, we're going to say printf and paste in this information and put a semicolon at the end. And that's going to be our title. Now before we print any title or anything else, we should do this actually on a clear screen. So we're going to say system clear screen. And you'll notice if you look at the lab, sum and average program were not in the left margin, so we might want to bring this over a little bit, backslash tab, and the next line will go on to a new line, so we better put a backslash in here. Printf here. We're going to grab the next line of output, which from our explain, which is this. I'm going to highlight it, right mouse click, copy, and this line is a little bit long. Now we're going to need a semicolon at the end as always, so let's put our semicolon in here. And what we want to do is break this into 2 separate printfs. So we're going to put a bracket semicolon here, and we're going to say over here printf quote, and have the other part of the print statement here. So what we're going to have to do is under explain to user, we're going to have to say explain bracket semicolon, and this is our function call. So now we should be able to see it work, but the problem is, as you know, if we print a bunch of stuff to the screen and don't wait for the output, we're not going to see it. So typically we're going to put a system pause at the end. So this will allow us to actually look at how our program is working so far and make sure there are no errors to this point. Well, I can see one right now, and the error is that I forgot to put a double quote here. I forgot to put a semicolon here. And what you can see is it does work. It has sum and average. There's the output that we expect, and press any key to continue. So it's asking here that we're going to input 3 numbers, calculate a sum, and calculate an average. So if we think back, that means that we're going to need a variable for the first number, a variable for the second number, a variable for the third number, 1 for sum, and 1 for average. So altogether, we're going to need 5 variables. And these variables should make some sort of sense in terms of the names we pick for them. And so we're going to say, and we could choose integer or float, but I think it makes sense if we're dividing by 3 to make sure that these are floats. So float num1, num2, num3, sum, and average. Once we have that, then we can start dealing with getting our user input. We're going to say printf input first number, and then we're going to put 2 equals and a greater than sign, a space, and then we're going to say scanf %f, because we want floating point numbers, comma, ampersand num1. Select these 2 lines, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, and instead of saying first here, we're going to say second. Instead of first, we're going to say third. And instead of num1 all three times, we're going to say num2. And again, num3. Let's see if this works. And if we type in 47, 98, 27, it does indeed work for input. Now the calculations are going to be to add the num1, num2 plus num3 and generate a sum, and then take the sum, divide it by 3, and generate that output. This printf %6.1f plus %6.1f plus %6.1f equals %6.1f. One of the things we can do is we could actually have all the num1, num2, and so on to sum here, but we could also split it by just hitting enter and putting part of the printf on the next line. What this allows us to do is actually show here's the format for num1, here's the format for num2, here's the format for num3 and for sum, but it also gives us more space if we want to put comments in here. To finish this off, we're going to put a left bracket here. We're also going to go to the end, leave a couple spaces, you'll see why shortly, put another bracket, space, /3 space. Now up here we really don't need both these \n. Let's just put in one. And let's put a double \n here to move this down. And here we should also put another \n. So let's see how our final version is going to look, and let's make sure it looks just like the one in our lab. So let's run it and see. So if we type in 48, 98, 25, we're going to see that indeed it does look like it should, where we've got brackets. You can see these brackets here are equally spaced, and this gives us a result that we'd want. And so when we capture this and put it in our program, we're pretty much done this section.